Hi everyone, welcome to today's intermediate walkthrough. My name is Taylor and I'm a customer experience advocate here at monday.com. Now, right before we start, I just want to let you know that about how the three webinars work. So we have three product demo levels: basic, intermediate, and advanced. And each exposes you to a different feature of monday.com and to help you grasp the simpler parts of the platform before improving your workflow with more advanced features. So this webinar today is the second in the series, so we won't be going over the things that were covered in the basic one. And the goals today are to further deepen your knowledge with the platform and the different features, as you're no longer new to the platform and are familiar with the basic features and capabilities. And our second goal is to help you take your workflow and usage of monday.com to the next level by presenting and demonstrating some more complex features. Now, on the agenda today, we have a few things. So the first would be a quick recap of the basic webinar. Next, we're going to try out some more advanced columns and views. We'll also learn how to incorporate Monday forms into your workflow. We'll go over some basic automations and integrations, and we'll finish with board level reporting. Okay, we can just go ahead and start with our recap. So this is our monday.com account, and this is the low-level board that was created and built in the basic webinar. So in case you missed it, we walked you through a board for managing a single project and explained about the general structure of the account and the boards. We went over some of the more commonly used columns, such as the assignee column, the status, timeline column, date column, numbers column. We also saw some of the board views, so that would be the timeline view. And at the end, we showed you how to use the search and filter features on your specific board. So for today's webinar, the use case will continue the use case we started with in the basic webinar. And for those who did not attend, the use case is covering a team working in a creative agency. So I'm just gonna go ahead. This is our workspace for today, and we'll open the board we will be working on today. So that's the incoming projects board. And as you know, you can use these examples for any industry or vertical. So you can simply change the boards and utilize the features you learned today to match your workflow needs. So this is just one example of what's possible with monday.com. Now, since in the basic webinar, we focused more on a basic board structure and features, today we'll take another step forward and we'll walk you through an incoming requests board for the exact same creative agency. So in the previous webinar, we focused on how to manage one single project, but today we'll see how to manage multiple incoming requests, which in our example would come from clients making requests for new projects for my team. And then we'll later manage these requests in a project board. Now, we'll see today how we can use more advanced features to elevate the workflow. And let's just start by kind of like going over this board that we have here. So you can see I have three groups. So that would be incoming requests, in progress projects, and done projects. Now let's just take a quick look at the columns we have here. So some are pretty basic, but we have others a bit more complex. So we have the agent column, which is the people column, and we can see that many people from the team are assigned to these tasks. We have the phone and email so that we can contact the person who reached out. We have their location with the location column that I will expand on in just a second. We have this drop-down column where they can choose what type of service are they looking for in their request to the team, to the creative team. And what's so special about the drop-down column is that you can choose multiple options. So it doesn't have to be only one. So there's that. There's also the description column, which is basically a long text column. And it has just a lot of more room for textual information. So in this case, I want my clients to just describe their projects and what are they looking for from us, from my team. We have a date column for the due date of their tasks or their projects. We have files column where you can upload files from your computer, from Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, or OneDrive. And in this use case, the clients themselves can upload files to the form so that we can just take a quick look at what they want us to see. And we have a numbers column for the estimated budget. We then have two status columns, one for the status of contact, and second for if we decided that the project is relevant for us and we want to start working on it, we can choose which quarter the project is relevant for. Lastly, we have the rating column, which you can edit to be either stars or, in the column settings, hearts. And you can choose the scale, 3, 4, or 5. And my team is going to use this to rate the priority of the project. So we can choose whether it's 4 stars, if it's relatively prioritized, high priority, or 5 stars, or anything in between, so that we can just rate the projects for ourselves, right? So for the team. So some of the columns here will be filled out by the client and some will be filled out by the team. And when I'll show you how to use the forms, I'll explain a bit more about that. Now, coming back to the location column, I just want to show you how nice that can be used. So the clients are submitting their locations, and I can later click here to open a map view that will show me their locations on a map. So I can see what's going on, like where are most of my projects, or yeah, any other use that this map view can give me. Even if I want to go back to the board, I will click here to toggle between the different views of the board and go back to the main table. Okay, so these are the boards that we already have here. And I just want to quickly remind you that we have the column center where we can find all the other columns that the platform has to offer, other than the ones that are already on the board. So by clicking on this plus sign here, add column, I can click on more columns, which leads me to the column center. And you can just have a look and see all the different columns that we have to offer. Now, as the items are created on my board by the form submissions, I would also like to add 2 other columns to give my team and I better insight on our speed. So I want to introduce you to the following columns. So the first one I'll be looking for is the creation log column. So by clicking here, this is added to the board. And this adds the creator and the date of the creation for each item automatically. Now, I want to keep track of when we receive each request for later reporting purposes, or if I just want to get a quick indication of how long each request has been waiting here. So it's a great column generally to avoid having to manually add a requester column when someone in your team is adding an item as a request. So yeah, that's super useful. I can also click here on the column settings and choose which display mode I want to have. So either the person only, the date only, or both. So now I have both. And just a small note, because all the items here were created by a form submission. So that means by external people and not necessarily someone from my team. You can see that I am the one who created them. But if you're working with a team inside Monday and they're the ones creating items, you will see their name in the creation log. So just to make that point clear. And let's just add one more column, which is honestly one of my favorites and one of the more like advanced ones. Let's search for it. So that would be the time tracking column, which helps us to easily track time spent on each item, group, and board. So I'm going to add it to my board. And the cool thing about the time tracking is that by clicking here, I can start to track the time that it took me to work on any specific task. I can stop it, and I can later view the log. So I will see who stopped and who started the time tracking for that specific item. Now, both of these columns will be very useful for us for later when we'll talk about reporting. Okay, so now that we are familiar with the board structure, I want us to dive deeper into the workflow we have with the forms. So forms are actually a board view that can be added from the Views Center. Now, when I say view, I mean this little drop down here. And I've already added my form right here, but if you want to start from scratch, you can click on add view and choose the form from this list. Okay, so when you think, when you know you want to use a form view, it's always important to think about the type of data you want to collect with your form. Then build the board with the columns which match those data types. And with a few clicks of a button, you'll be able to create a form based on that board and share it with your clients in 2 different ways that I'll show in a second. And each response to that form will create a new item with all the answers you need in your board. So it's a really great way of capturing data from outside and bringing it directly into your monday.com board. So this is the board, and it automatically adds the fields based on the columns that I have on my board. Now we have 2 important things to remember. I can either hide by clicking on this eye. Now the phone is hidden from the form, or unhide it. And I can mark it as required. So this means that the person who submits the form will not be able to submit it without filling out this specific field. So let's just go over quickly on the form. So I want this to be seen, also the location, type of service. I want to make sure that's required. Tell us about your project. It doesn't have to be required. Due date. Let's keep it on the board, on the form. Files also. Do you have a budget for the project? Now the status relevant for which queue and rating is going to be hidden because I don't want the people to actually submit that. And that's it. Our form is ready. I can also click here to change the color of the background of the form. So let's go with this one. Now, how do I share it? I click on this button here, share form, and I have 2 ways to share it. So either by a shareable link or by embedding it to a specific website. Now, I'm just gonna copy this shareable link and open it with you guys right now so you can see what it looks like. And this is the form that my clients see. Now, they're just filling in the blanks here and clicking on submit, which creates a new item on our lovely board. So this is all we need to know about the form, sorry. Next, I want to show you another board view, which again, we're going to open from here. So that would be the calendar view. So let's click here to add view and scroll all the way down to the calendar. Awesome. So this gives me a view of all the dates I have on the board. I can view it either monthly, weekly, or daily. And it's really important to go to the settings and make sure that I see the information from the specific date columns that I want to see. So the creation log is not super relevant here. I'm going to take that one off. And I just want to see the due dates. So I can also choose how to color the items, either by group or by the status of their contact, by the agent. So that gives me a lot of flexibility in that sense. And I'm just looking at the items on my board with a different, just located on this calendar, which gives me a really great high level kind of overview of what's like expecting from my team and when are we going to work a lot and when we have perhaps maybe less projects. Okay, let's see. So these are only 2 examples of what you can do with board views, but I highly recommend to just click here and go to add view. We can go to more views and just check out what the board views has to offer to us because it's like a really good way to take the basic information from your board and kind of like enhance it and view it in many different ways. So let's go back to the main table. Okay, so just another side note, we're going to be covering more board views in the advanced webinar, but as we are here on this kind of incoming projects board, I just want to quickly show you some other very useful features. So let's start with the advanced filters. Now, sometimes we want to filter down on a specific data on the board. And with advanced features, we can define which conditions you want to filter the board by. So let's say specifically, I want to see only the tasks that are assigned to me and that are due for the next 2 weeks. So I'll go to this filter button here and click to add advanced filters. And I want to make sure that I'm seeing on my specific view only items that are assigned to me. So that's dynamic. So that means that whoever opens the board is going to see their items. And I also want to add another filter, and I can choose whether and or option. So let's say I want to keep it an and that the due date is any of next or this month, let's say. So now I've filtered my board. I can either save it as a new view, which will then be seen here in the views list. So let's save that as a new view, and let's call it my tasks for this month. So that means that whenever I want to see my tasks for this month, I don't have to reapply the filters. I can just toggle between the main table and my tasks for this month, which has the filters already applied. So this way, each employee can create their relatable view, and we don't all have to work on this, sorry, very long list of items. So also using the advanced filters means you can drill down on the information you need, decide in which view you want to see it, and therefore use the same board in like an endless different ways. So let's say I want to share specific information from this board with my stakeholders or with my boss, or in this case, the people who ordered this project, but let's say they're not in my monday.com account. So I can create a specific view. I can filter it out like I just showed you. So let's say I want my boss to see all the tasks that I have for this month. And let's say he is not on my monday.com account, right? Just for the sake of the example. So I'm going to go here and I will hover over this specific view and click here. So I'm going to go right over here and click on share the screen, share the view. So this means that the board is now visible to anyone on the web with a specific shareable link. And yeah, you just have to keep in mind that whenever a board is shared with anyone external, we have this blue banner on top, just reminding us that the board is visible with the shareable link. And if I want to turn it off, I can just click on this icon right here and stop sharing. So that's super useful. You can just filter out the boards in so many different ways and share it with external people. One last option I want to show you here is the conditional coloring. So let's just go back to the main table and click on this 3-dot menu here and go to conditional coloring. So let's say I want to color the cells that has specific information on them. So this allows us to visually emphasize or differentiate among the data on the board. So let's just take an example. I want to color out all the cells that include where in the type of service column, any of the, let's say, YouTube ads. And I can click here to make it, let's say, red. So then again, I can either save this as a new view, or I can just close it right over here. And now you can see that all the items that has the YouTube ads on them are colored in red. And the conditional coloring works on many other columns. So it can be to color all the people who have an estimated budget, equal, smaller, or any of a specific number. So that's like super, again, useful to take the board that has a lot of information, but color it and make it much more easy to work with. So these are all the advanced kind of features I wanted to show you on that board. I hope this was clear and that you find it useful. And right before we proceed to talk about integrations, automations, and reporting, I just want to quickly introduce the powerful tool of board permissions. Now, these are permissions or restrictions that are meant to give the owner of the board control over what information can be changed on the board level. So if I click here on this 3-dot menu on the top, and click on board permissions, you can see I have one of these options. So this is in case I don't want anyone to do anything on the board. I can choose whether the board permission allows everyone to edit everything. Maybe everyone edit on the content, so that means they cannot change the structure of rows or item or columns. I can use this advanced permission to allow people to edit rows assigned to them only. So that means each agent can only touch and edit their own items, or view only if I want to make sure that no one is touching the board except for the board owners. Okay, so just one last thing. We can click here on the icon of who is on this board to see who is on this board and who is a board owner and who isn't. A board owner is indicated by this small little crown here, and anyone with a crown will be able to do anything on the board, but anyone without the crown will be able to do anything that the board permissions allow. So there's that. Now I want to show you how we can take our workflow to the next level by using automations and integrations, which can be both found here, integrate or automate. Our automations, let's start with automations, allow us to use an event inside monday.com, like changing the status or a date arriving, to trigger an action, like sending a notification or moving the item to another group. So this is done by using predefined automation flows, or how we call them recipes, which can all be found here, which we have created for you to choose from, or you can click here to create custom automations, so to build your own automation recipe. So I just want to show you the automations we currently have on this board. Let's take one as an example. So when the status of contact column changes to approved, move the item to the in progress projects. So this helps me to keep my board organized and move the item across the boards without having to actually do this manually. Another option that I've added to the board is when the status of contact changed to no response. So this means I'm not going to be following on with this lead, archive the item. So this way I can make sure that my board is not too busy with items that are not super relevant for my team. So these are the automations that I currently have here. I just want to show you how this works on the board itself. So let's say I have this item right here, and that the status of this lead has been approved. So let's just give it a second. You can see the item moved. And if I'll scroll all the way down, I can see that I moved to the in progress project. I can also show you how I'm taking this, and let's say that there's no response from the client. It's gone, and the item is now archived. And the way I can make sure what happened on the board and who did what on the board is by clicking here in the activity log, which shows me what happened on the board. So I can see that this item, the status was changed to no response, and thus it was archived by an automation by this specific recipe. So if you're ever not sure what happened on the board, just click on the activity log, and it's going to have all the documentation and explanations of what happened. Cool. So these are just the examples of what can be done with automations. I highly recommend to go to the Automation Center here and just get a glimpse of what are the options. There are over 80 recipes. So just take a look, try those out, and see what works best for you. You can notify people when something happens on the board. You can move the item. You can have dates move around, and yeah, many other things. So highly recommend to check it out. Okay, now let's move on to talk a bit about our integrations. So these let you connect all the tools you're using alongside monday.com so that the data can flow either from Monday to that tool or from that tool to your boards. And integrating your tools keeps everything more transparent and avoids work silos. So monday.com can become the central source of truth. So let's use, in this example, the Gmail integration. So I'm going to click here on integrate, which leads me again to the list of integration recipes that I currently have on the board. And if I click here, this takes me to the integration center where I can see all the relevant integrations I can add to my board, and there are a lot. So if I click on Gmail, you can see that these are the recipes that the platform allows me to have. So I want to add this example of recipe so that when the status changes to something, send an email to someone. And I want to use it so that every time the status of a lead is updated, I'm notifying the client what happened. So I'll click on the status here. You need to choose the account you want to connect with your monday.com account. So I'll click on this one. And now let's configure the integration together. So that let's configure it this way so that when the status of contact changes to, let's say, initial contact, I want to send an email to someone. So when clicking on the email, I can choose what message exactly is going to be sent out in the email. So let's say I want to just let the person know that we received the request and that we will contact them soon. So I'm going to type in the email here, and you can see that I can choose fields from the item in the email. So I want to reach out to the, let's say, username, which will automatically populate the name of the person who reached out. We're so glad you sent out your request. We received it and would contact you via email, within the next 48 hours. Thanks again and speak soon. I can also choose the subject of the email. So let's say we'll call it your request to our creative agency. You can obviously edit this however you want. And I click to someone and I want to send the email to whoever is in the email column on my board. So I will send it to the address in the email column on my board. Let's add it to the board. Great. Now let's go back to the board and do that. So I will want to send an email out to the person with, let's say, a certain email address. I will then click on the status of contact, change it to initial contact, and then the mail will be sent. And as a confirmation, I will also see this bubble right here that says that is actually documenting the outgoing email. So this is the way I can confirm that the email was sent. I can see it was sent from my email address to mike@email.com. It was sent at the date, and this is the body of the email. So in this case, it took my name, but that's going to differ between, so that depends on the item itself. So this is really just one example of how to use integrations. And as I mentioned earlier, I really urge you to go to the Integration Center and check out this amazing list of tools that we connect with and integrate with, as this really is one of the more advanced and just advanced features of the platform. It can really enhance your workflow. So now we arrive to our last part of this webinar, which is the board level reporting. So reporting helps everyone understand how they are performing against their goals and discover places for improvement. So in short, it shows us reality as well as opportunity. The first useful reporting tool is the filter views that I showed you earlier, as we can narrow down on specific things on our board. So it's super useful if you have a long board full of information, because after all, no one likes scrolling. So I can just filter out items by their status, by their date, and just have a very clear reporting, to extract some more useful information from this pretty long board. Now, another reporting tool is the chart view that I can add again from the Views Center right here. So I'll click here, I'll scroll all the way down to add a view, and I want to show you the chart view. Okay, So it provides you with an informative visual overview, providing breakdowns and analytics to enable your team to make necessary and informed decisions. So in this use case, let's say I want to see what types of services are most requested, as this can help me plan my year ahead. So I will choose the pie chart, and I want to see the information inside based on the type of service someone requested. So I can see that 40% of users, clients requested YouTube ads. Other 30% asked online banners, 10% billboards, and so on and so forth. Um, I have other options here on the setting of the chart view, which is useful because I can just like tweak the settings and see different things. Let's say I also want to see in a chart, a bar chart, um, let's say how things are divided between my agents. So who's in charge of how many clients? So I can see that Itai is in charge of 8, while Danielle is only in charge of 1. So that can also help me kind of like divide the work between my team in a better way. Okay, we also have another very useful board view that we'll add from the workload, workload view, which allows me to see how is the workload divided between my team and my different agents. So I can see how many projects each one of them has in each and every month. And yeah, so we're not going to be looking at this today because this will be covered in the next webinar, so the more advanced features one. But I encourage you to check it out yourselves and see if that can be used for your team. Now, as I mentioned earlier, all these views can be shared with external stakeholders. So let's say I want to show my managers how is our work divided. So that will send them this chart. So I'll click here, like I mentioned earlier, and click on the share option, which is, again, super useful. Okie dokie. So lastly, to do cross-board, more advanced reporting, we have the dashboards, but we won't be going over these today because this is covered in the advanced webinar again, and where my colleague will go into details on how to set them up and use them. But just so you know, you can add a dashboard by clicking on the add here, add a new blank dashboard, and the rest will follow in the advanced webinar. Okay, so that's it for us today. I want us to go back to our presentation just to mention some important things. So in case you have follow-up questions based on this webinar, you have other questions about anything else on the platform, these are the three most important things to remember. So monday.com/support is where you'll find our knowledge-based articles, videos, and many other useful resources. And I highly recommend to go in there, type the keyword that you're looking for, and find all the relevant information. If you go to monday.com/stories, you'll find real customer inspiration where our clients are sharing their boards and sharing their workflows. Or you can email us at support@monday.com whenever. We're available 24/7 and would love to help you and direct you to the right places and help you enhance your workflow and just, make better use of your monday.com account. So that's an important part to remember from this webinar. And that's it. I hope you, had enjoyed this webinar and learned some new things, and hope to see you soon in our follow-up webinars. Thank you so much.